me explain to you liberals why MAGA is so upset about Bad Bunny and this Spanish-speaking Super Bowl halftime show. And the number one reason is not just racism, like everybody says. The real reason, and people never hear this, is that Puerto Rico and the Spanish language and Hispanic music and culture, they all make MAGA feel really insecure. And the reason for that insecurity is that it makes them feel stupid. Now, I can say this with confidence because I used to feel this way. I used to be like these people. I grew up conservative as a Republican. And I remember being, frankly, afraid. I wouldn't have said that in the time, but that's what it was. When people spoke Spanish around me and I didn't understand it, I started to think that they were talking about me, that they were doing something that, was nefarious. Now, is that rooted in racism? Yes, but it's rooted more than anything in ignorance and narcissism, where you think that everything is about you and has to be about you. MAGA, more than being a racist movement, which it is one that is anti-intellectual, that gives a permission structure to shun intellectual curiosity. It's a movement that says you already know everything you need to know and you are right. Facts be damned. What MAGA fears more than anything else is humiliation, is feeling less than. That's why they try to project their superiority onto everyone else. It's the key characteristic of their lives. And nothing makes MAGA more insecure than when they say, if Bad Bunny wants to speak Spanish, he should go back where he came from, back to his country. And then someone informs them, Puerto Rico is part of the United States. Bad Bunny is and was born an American citizen. Now, when MAGA watched that halftime show, like last year's halftime show with Kendrick Lamar, they did not understand the cultural references that were displayed visually, that came through the music, came through the dance and choreography, came through the set design. So everything that they are seeing and hearing lacks context. So they just lay onto it their own fears, their own insecurities. Now, because MAGA is an anti-intellectual movement, they don't have the second nature of going, I don't understand this, maybe I should read about it. They just retreat into their corner and brand it as like evil. And look, when I watched that show last night, I didn't understand everything. I don't speak Spanish. I've tried to learn and I've failed. I took college level courses, fully immersive classes, tried Duolingo. Learning a second language is not in the cards for me, but I can still read. And thankfully, when I went to university, because I just could not learn a second language, I was allowed to instead study Latin American culture. And it is rich and worth reading about. And even though I probably took enough courses that I technically could have gotten a minor in Latin American history or culture or something like that, I still didn't understand most of what I saw in real time as I was watching Bad Bunny perform. But I have found it profoundly interesting to, after the fact, look it all up. I did not know when I saw the performance that the light blue field on the Puerto Rican flag was an anti-colonial symbol. I imagine that most Americans watching, when they saw people climbing on telephone poles and electric coming out, I don't think that most Americans understood that that's a reference to the rolling blackouts and the lack of infrastructure and investment, and how the echoes of colonialism and Puerto Rico's status as an American territory but not a state has denied it the ability to gain all of the benefits of being American, of being American citizens. But for intellectually curious Americans who did not know that, they're reading about that this morning or watching breakdowns on these apps of these things. So look, my only message to MAGA about the Super Bowl halftime show with Bad Bunny is that it feels a lot better to learn, to understand new concepts, than it does to be afraid, to feel stupid, and to be angry. So I'm not going to say go out and buy a book. I'm not going to give any book recommendations. Just read anything about the symbolism and the history that was displayed last night. Because as foreign and as alien as it may feel, it's actually American history. And you should take into consideration that you don't need a passport to go to Puerto Rico. It's part of the United States. So if you want to experience a cultural revelation, you don't have to get a passport. You don't have to leave the U.S. You just have to be a little bit brave.